It takes two to make a thing go right. It takes two to make it out of sight. It takes two to make a thing go right. It takes two to make it out of sight. Hi, welcome to another episode of the Matt Fiona Show. Thank you so much for joining us. We're incredibly happy that you're here. As always, which I neglected to mention last week, off the top, please like, follow, subscribe, share, all of those fun things on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. We should be there.
Okay, wonderful.
All right.
You do the work, so gonna go with it.
Today we are going to jump into a delightful topic.
Yes.
That I will do my best not to get into too much trouble with.
Yeah, let's see how this works.
I'll fail.
It's fine.
I'm good at
It's a good topic.
It's a great topic. I'll just
It's a
fail.
very meaningful topic.
What's in a name?
What's in a name?
All right, so let me set the stage.
Take it away, Matthew.
All too often, the story I hear from people is I went into business with this person and it started out great and it turned out terribly. Or I got into a relationship or a friendship, or I trusted this individual, or I hired this company because they had a fish on their truck to come in and do a renovation for me. And they were terrible, and they were terrible people, and they never called me back. And I just couldn't believe it because they were Christians. If you had made eye contact, we could have done that at the same time. 3, 2, Christians. Perfect. I'll splice that together for real. And essentially what this boils down to is you can go and watch any award show.
Yeah.
And the majority of people, especially if you watch a country music one, will get up on stage and they'll take their award and they'll hold it up and go, "Oh my gosh, I've been wanting one of these since I was a kid and now I've won it and I just want to thank the Lord." And they may be sincere. We don't know, and I'm not here to judge that.
No.
But subsequently following that, I will hear from multiple people at some point of, "Oh my gosh, I didn't realize that individual was a Christian." But they thanked the Lord in their acceptance speech.
Yes.
And thus they must be a Bible-toting Christian.
Stand up.
And maybe they are. We don't, I don't know.
Right. Yes.
But what I hear all too often is this thought process that every Christian
Is created.
by their name
Yep.
or by their self-declaration is the same as any other Christian.
Right.
So we can have talks with people and they will, again, to use the example of the reno situation, be like, "Man, I hired this company to do my roof and they did a terrible job and it leaked and then they wouldn't come back. And I just can't believe they do that to a fellow Christian."
Right.
And I have to stop that conversation right there and go, whoa. I politely don't care if they were a Christian. Did you check the references? Did you Google them to see if they had any reviews online? Did you literally do any due diligence at all other than see a fish logo on their truck and go, "Oh, they must be great at what they do. And they must be honorable, stand up people." And again, this is going to sound harsh to most, but I know all kinds of people that are quote unquote Christians.
Yes.
Who I would never know due to my interpretation and the way I walk out my Christian faith.
Right.
I would not look at them and go, "Oh my gosh, we're the same."
Right.
I'd likely go, huh. I had a friend a couple years ago and we never became close.
Right.
We had we were acquaintances and then it was like, oh, maybe we'll be friends. And then very quickly we drifted apart because, this was not the only reason.
Right.
But they knew I was a Christian. They're like, oh, I'm a Christian too. I'm like, cool.
Right.
And again, that didn't
persuade or...
No, it didn't affect the relationship in any way. But it was just it was an additional thing we had in common.
Right.
Right? Mm-hmm. And we started hanging out. And the more we talked, the more I realized that they were a Christian in their own mind.
Yes.
They hadn't attended a church, even online,
right,
in 3 years.
Right.
They had gone for one of their daughters' christenings. That was the last time. Their daughter was 7 by the time I was there.
Right.
Right? And in their mind, we were the same.
Yep.
Which again, I'm not saying they weren't. He and his family were really nice. They were stand-up. They were polite. They were respectful. Right? They didn't have any weird things that would make you go, wow, that's a terrible person.
Right.
But they use that tag or that label and there was no substance behind it.
Right.
At all.
It was a title. It wasn't based upon a relationship.
Not at all. And I think so often as, when you're young and when you're in college or university.
Or entering the work field, right?
Yeah.
Just...
When you're young, single, etc.
Right.
It's really easy to have a huge stable of friends. Mm-hmm. Right? As you progress in your life cycle, for lack of a better term.
Right.
Once you get married and you have some kids and typically you find that you start to lose friends. So in our case, we had a fair amount of friends.
Right.
After we got married. Mm-hmm. As all of our other friends had kids. Mm-hmm. And we did not have kids yet. Mm-hmm. We just started to drift apart from all of them. Mm-hmm. For no other reason.
They got busy.
They got busy. We got busy.
We got busy. We
lived in different areas.
Yes. Life shifts and life changes, and that's okay.
Oh, yeah. Life evolves.
Life evolves. Right? Yes.
And our lifestyle evolved. Our relationship evolved. Mm-hmm. All of these things, and you drift away. So as we're, the age we are now, and our kids are the age that they are.
Yes.
We are, not that we're always looking for friends, that makes it sound weird, but we realize that we only have a handful of friends.
Right.
And what I find very comical is, oddly enough, people try to matchmake with me a lot. Oh, you should be friends with these people.
Yes.
I'm glad we pointed the same way. That was great. And typically, what comes next is, you're a Christian and they're a Christian.
They're a Christian.
And I go, cool. They're like, well, that's great, right? And I'm like, sure, maybe. And then subsequently you meet that person and go, yeah, we're not the same.
Right.
And again, that's not a judgment.
People down. No,
it's not a judgment
not
at all. But it is we make a lot of life choices and we live our life in a certain way. Mm-hmm. And it's very difficult to find like-minded people.
Right.
Or people who just gel well.
Right.
Right? And then when you do, it's fantastic. Mm-hmm. But so often, because church is such a big part of our life and our Christian walk is such a identity factor for us.
It's who we are.
It very quickly becomes that link that so many people try to use. Mm-hmm. And we have a friend and she's in a decent church. Mm-hmm. And we continually hear these stories about, I was talking to this person and we were starting to get together and they're a wonderful Christian. And then 6 months later, it's like, well, hey, do you ever talk to so-and-so again? Oh my gosh, no.
Yeah.
Why not? Well, I thought they were a Christian, but they do insert list of
Right.
other things that, they don't agree with.
Right.
And it's like, well, yeah, like just because they show up to church, maybe,
Right.
or just because they tell you they're a Christian doesn't necessarily mean that means anything.
Yep.
Right? I know a lot of people that tell me that they're a Christian and they're Catholic.
Well, which again, fine.
Yeah.
But the whole point of this, well, not the whole point of this, but
the entire point.
the entire
summed up to
point.
one sentence.
Phrase. No, but what we're trying to get at is not all Christians are created equal.
Right.
Right? And the way we choose to live our lifestyle is very biblical, right? Mm-hmm. And we have made choices in our life, right? Decided to follow Jesus. No, just
I have decided to follow
Jesus.
Oh, you got to be. It's deeper.
Jesus. But our lifestyle, we put God first, right? Mm-hmm. And in our marriage, in raising our children, we believe in prayer, we believe in church attendance, and our lifestyle in every aspect reflects that. Mm-hmm. And we are not going to compromise our relationship with Jesus for other people.
Yeah.
Right? This is not to say that we won't get together with people and that if you're not a Christian, we will never...
Oh, I have a bunch of friends that aren't Christians.
Right. But we are never going to allow other people to impact our life.
Right.
They are never going to take us away. Like, you want to do something on a Sunday morning and that's the only time you're good? Well, sorry, we're never going to do anything because we are never going to compromise that. Mm-hmm. Right? When it comes to scheduling anything that we do, church is in first. And that's where we're going to be. Obviously when we go visit my mom and stuff like that, there are those exceptions. But we've chosen a lifestyle of which we honor our Lord and Savior. We've chosen to follow Jesus. Sorry, just keep back to it. No, but we have chosen a biblical lifestyle. That's how we choose to raise our kids. We're not alone in that. And if that's how you have chosen to walk at your Christian walk, you're not alone in it either. But I've had people, friends, family who are Christians and they get very excited because they meet somebody who is a Christian. And what happens is they allow their guard down.
Oh yeah, it's an icebreaker.
Instantaneous, ooh, okay, I can, let my guard down. But when you let your guard down too soon, that can in the long run have quite a negative effect. I've known people, and for anybody who's single, man, first of all, I can't imagine. Because
you scored so well.
I scored so well. That's exactly where I was going with this.
You're welcome.
The world has shifted and changed, and, being able to actually learn and figure out who people are can be very tricky these days.
It is tricky.
And
tricky.
But, I have known women who they're just, well, he was a Christian, so therefore...
We're good.
We're good, yeah.
Yeah.
We're good. It doesn't matter, like, they're Christian, so we're just going to go with it without analyzing or looking at their fruit.
Well, looking beyond just the title.
Looking just beyond their title, right? Yeah, for sure. And there's such a, what's the word or phrase I'm looking for? We do ourselves a disservice by not trying to understand where somebody is in their Christianity. Yeah. Because we are all in a different place. And that even goes with friends. And not to say you can't be friends with a somebody who's just starting or just came to know Jesus, and by all means, friend them, encourage them, build them up, right? But you need to be careful who you're allowing to speak into your life and what they think is appropriate. Because if you're not careful, you're going to let the wrong things in your life, the wrong relationships in your life. And what can ultimately wind up happening is that Christian by name can start pulling you away from Christ instead of being somebody who builds you up and brings you closer. And again,
it's something where, and I'm going to use a work example from my life for a second.
Okay.
Right? Because it's the validation and the looking deeper at any relationship or situation.
Right.
Right? In my AV company, we do a lot of work with churches. Right? Whether it's consulting or installs or sales or service or whatever. And we come after a lot of other companies. We do a lot of fixing.
Yep.
Right? And most of the time, when I start to have conversations with whoever the decision maker is, whether it's the pastor or the board or, a technical director or whatever,
right?
And it happens more, unfortunately, in the smaller churches than it does in the bigger churches. But in the smaller churches, it's we had this good Christian brother. Right. And he told us that they could do this, whatever this is.
Right.
And typically this is something that's not working, that they've spent a lot of money on.
Which is why you are
Which is why we get the call.
Yep.
And every time as we're kind of doing our due diligence ahead of time and in the meetings and the walkthroughs, I go, well, okay, so who installed this? Who sold you this? Oh, a good Christian brother. I'm like, do they have a company?
Right.
Like, was it just a guy who says was it somebody in your church? Oh, no, but he's a good Christian. I'm like, okay, I'm glad he's a good Christian, but does he know? But
is he qualified?
But does he know anything about audio video? Do they work in churches? Do they have insurance? All of these things.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
And typically, most of those things are a no. And when I ask the question of, okay, so how did you select that person to do this install or sell you this stuff? Well, they were just such a good Christian brother. And again, it sounds like I'm picking on them, and I'm not. You typically wouldn't do this with your doctor. Right? You wouldn't walk into your doctor and be like, some random person in a white coat, sir or ma'am, are you a Christian? And if they say yes, you go, all right, cut me.
Right.
You'd want to know, okay, where did you go to school?
What kind of doctor are you?
Are you a surgeon?
Have you done this before?
Or are you a podiatrist?
Right.
Because if you're a
podiatrist,
difference. I don't want you to cut my chest open.
Doctor, there's very many different. Yes.
We need some qualifications. Yes. We need some certifications. We want to know you know what you're doing.
Yes.
Right? But when I'm selling to churches, so often they just hire some random person who's a good, quote unquote, Christian. And I have no problem with that. I'm glad that they hired a good Christian brother.
Yes.
My concern is that typically that good Christian brother has no idea what they're doing.
Yeah.
And they never did any due diligence to make sure that that Christian label that they have on their life in the application of selling an audio video solution had any validity. Right?
Yeah.
So you can take that and use that in any relationship, any friendship, any business application. It is fantastic that you're doing business with a fellow Christian. But hopefully that fellow Christian that you're trying to do business with is certified to do what they do, or they're good at what they do.
Right.
Right? And that you're not taking that one label as the be all and end all to their proficiency in whatever it is that you're doing.
Again, we've got to recognize that not all Christians, as we've said, are created equal.
There's a lot of flaky ones.
And deception. No,
Sorry. A lot.
A lot.
Most of them.
Oh my gosh. See, he said he wasn't going to get himself in trouble and then
it's
said, but he
19
was going
minutes
to
in, so
get himself in trouble.
Hopefully 30% of the audience is still here.
Oh my gosh.
Because I read analytics.
But see, now I lost my train of thought.
That's because most people are flaky.
What?
Hey, now we'll know when that hate mail starts coming in.
Oh, yes.
We'll know.
Yes. But don't be taken off course
Yeah.
by that title. Mm-hmm. Don't let your guard down because of that title. Yeah. Don't be deceived because of that title.
Do the due diligence you normally
So here's
would.
the thing. Well, he knew the Bible. The enemy knows the Bible. He believes in God.
Yeah.
The enemy believes in God, right? And I know, it's fine.
No, it's good.
What?
I was doing work earlier this year in a religious building.
Yes.
That is not our faith at all.
Yes.
Like, arguably the complete opposite.
Mm-hmm.
I know enough in that environment to talk the talk with them.
Right. Right.
Right? Mm-hmm. And I am not at all anywhere near that faith.
Right.
But I can walk in and talk the talk, which is not to say that I deceive them by any means. Because to their credit, they were hiring our company because we're really good at what we do.
Yes.
Not because we were a member of their religion.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
But I can talk the talk.
They hired you because of reputation.
Yes. I can talk the talk from the religious aspect to get along with them and understand their needs and their requirements based on how their religion functions.
Right.
Right?
Right.
It doesn't mean, like, if they had hired me just off that, I would have got the job too. Mm-hmm. Because I can talk that talk. Because I understand it.
Right.
Right? You'd be amazed at how often, heck, and again, not to stay in the AV space, but I have a bunch of friends who are atheists who have AV companies that talk the Christian talk better than most Christians I know.
Oh.
And they're atheists.
Right.
But they sell to churches. So they know how to
They
talk.
know the verbiage. They know the
verbiage.
word. They know
Yes.
the wording.
Heck, I got a friend who knows Bible, not better than me, but pretty darn close. We can go toe to toe.
Well,
And they're a hardcore atheist.
there was a conversation that I had today about somebody from a completely different religion.
Oh, I want to know later.
Okay. But their understanding
Yep.
of biblical principles, Bible stories, and I know for a fact, anyway,
Yep.
but she could have fooled most.
Yeah.
Very easily could have fooled most. Deception is at an all-time high. And I hate to say it.
Well, and I don't think, I don't think most people are trying to deceive.
No, but
It's more that so many Christians are
not discerning.
emotional,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
They want, and this is a good thing. Most Christians want to do business with other Christians. They want to be friends with other Christians. And their circle at their church might be small.
Right.
Right? So they want to meet other Christians and be friends with other Christians.
Which is
great.
great. Again, this is just more of a point of we've watched some people fall in certain directions because they've given way or they've given too much attention and energy to people who are Christians by name, but not necessarily by fruit.
Well, and the worst thing
by
is,
walk.
if you're a casual friend, that's great.
Yes, but when
you
you
start listening and taking advice and doing all these things, and
they have you give them your ear.
Well, you give them your ear, and you're giving them your ear with a added. You're giving them added validity,
right?
Because they are quote unquote a Christian.
Yep.
So you're going, oh, they must have a great word for me.
or even just advice.
Yes, because they're such a good Christian. I should listen.
Regardless of the fact, I mean, I've known people who have been caught off course.
Oh, so easily.
Because they feel as though
God is love.
The advice, the recommendations are coming from...
Carries so much weight because that person is a Christian.
And at times, it's even gone against pastor recommendations.
I'd argue it mostly goes against pastoral and biblical.
But here's the thing. If it doesn't line up with God's word, first of all, well, then no. Also, if your pastor's ever warned you about a certain people or warned you or has had some concern brought forth to you.
Oh, gosh.
Right?
We've had so many...
Not all Christians are created equal. And we cannot allow just that term when somebody says, oh man, I'm a Christian too. We can't let our guard down. We need to be wise in our decisions. And again, I'm going to be perfectly honest. I am somebody who my barrier is probably a little bit too thick. But because of that, I thought my barrier might be a little bit too thick. And I probably overanalyze some things a little too much, but also I want to make sure that I don't get burned. So I'm going to do my due diligence. Now, let me tell you, I can be kind and friendly and all of the above. I'm not rude to people, but I am going to guard myself, my life, because my life also then involves my marriage. It involves my children. So I am going to guard who I allow to have voices into me very carefully, because I know that if you let the wrong voices in, if you let the wrong people giving you advice in, it can destroy or hinder or hurt families and marriages. So I not only need to protect myself, I need to protect us, and I need to protect them. So my barrier may be a little thick. But I have seen time and time again, people fall, people hurt, people destroyed because they didn't allow a barrier, or they didn't allow discernment. They didn't try to protect themselves because that one phrase, man, I'm a Christian. They may even go to church.
We've had in the city, we've had a quote, unquote, a former pastor who's written the religious column in the newspaper for years after leaving his church and rescinding his, that's not the right term, but essentially he turned into an atheist.
Right.
He gave up on God and became an atheist and continued to write the religious column in the paper as a quote unquote title of a pastor. Right. And we would have people in our church who would bring in and be like, hey, can we post this pastor's, article from this week's paper on the community bulletin board? And be like, the guy who is an atheist? No, he's a good Christian. No, he's not.
No.
Not anymore.
But also this brings a good point. Be careful who you listen to. Just because there's a pastor that you find on YouTube or wherever, you need to have some discernment with that as well. You need to be so careful who you allow into your life, who you allow into your mind, who you allow to have your ear, because just because someone tells you they are something does not mean that Jesus Christ himself would say the same thing.
Full disclosure, our show is completely approved by our pastor.
Yes.
Not everything I say is approved by our pastor, but the show in general, the concept, we're good.
We've never gotten completely called out on anything.
No, not once.
No.
Not once.
But needless to say, this is just one of those warnings, because we've watched it time again, kind of just stemmed from conversations we've had about, man, somebody else taken out because they let their guard down by somebody who was a Christian. But we want to know how Jesus would view somebody.
Yep.
And we want to protect ourselves, and we want you to be protected as well. So not all Christians are created equal. You need to look at the fruit of the people, use some discernment, just keep some protection between you and people. Really be aware of who they are, how they behave.
Don't give them a pass just because they say they're a Christian.
Yes, right there.
It. Don't give them a pass.
Yeah, right
All
there.
Right. We are going to wrap it there. Thank you so much for joining us today. As always, you can like, follow, subscribe, share, all of those things on all of your favorite platforms if you've gotten this far. Otherwise, we will see you next week on another episode of the Matt Fiona Show. Yes. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.